You know, for all the crap and just criticism it gets, the Rey and Kylo, or Reylo pairing, as the fans say, could have been awesome, and it could have been the next step in the Star Wars franchise. A new way to explore the conflict between dark and light, as well as actually getting a romance right in this universe for once. But instead, we got a weird, rushed, corporate-created love story concocted by an evil mouse. I know their romance has its fans, and I'm actually trying to defend the fans of the Reylo ship, but in the movies, it's too rushed. Kylo is literally trying to kill Rey in every scene that they're in together, and everything she loves and cares about. He's utterly selfish, with few redeeming qualities. He's entirely motivated because of daddy and uncle issues, and he kills billions in the name of his hurt ego. Why would Rey love such a guy, if she's such a good person? What's going on with her and Finn anyway? Clearly the story was ruined by different creators contradicting themselves with their own ideas, right? What a missed opportunity. Yet to be fair, the entire Star Wars sequel trilogy was a missed opportunity, in my opinion at least. No disrespect intended for the fans of the sequels, even though I'm not aware of many. Maybe just my generation, or my social media bubbles, I don't know. However, one thing that always fascinated me around the sequel trilogy was the fan culture behind Rey and Kylo as a relationship thing. You could argue that these two were actually wished into existence by the fans. If you think about it, J.J. Abrams was hinting that Rey would end up with Finn, and any relationship she had with Kylo was just a join me in the dark side of the Force trope kind of thing. Basically, J.J. Abrams was imitating the dynamic of the original trilogy between Vader and Luke. There was no real chemistry between Rey and Kylo in The Force Awakens. Though yeah, Rian Johnson heavily hinted that these two were going to be the final pairing in The Last Jedi, but we all know that Rian Johnson's style is to subvert expectations, which means that if he had his way in the last movie, Rey would probably have ended up with Chewbacca. Which means that in the end, the Reylo pairing only really happened as safe fan service, in a vain attempt to try to please the largest number of people, especially after everyone hated The Last Jedi for being utterly terrible. As a result, Kylo and Ren kissing came across as strange, rushed, and a little creepy. In the end, it was a pathetic cry for help from a dying franchise, and not an epic journey told to the masses. A proper Reylo romance could have made the sequels be celebrated for generations to come. It could have been so much more. There's a reason why J.J. Abrams went for it. There's a reason why Tumblerinas demanded it, and there's a reason why I am a grown-ass man making this shitty video about a failed fictional romance. The idea of two lovers at war with one another is primal and terrifically dramatic. It basically writes itself and provides the narrative with inherent tension, plot-driving conflict, and a beautiful message, one that is especially poignant today in our polarized culture. Which is why I'm utterly shocked, flabbergasted, stupefied that this type of romance is actually not that common in storytelling, and that it hasn't really been done well in ages. In fact, I can't think of a single good pairing like this in any really relevant franchise. People are incredibly starved for this kind of story, but I'm only aware of popular fan shipping of this trope. The trope I'm referring to is, of course, the enemies in love concept, whereas TVTropes.com puts it, love across the battle lines. Basically, it's when two enemies on opposing sides fall in love with each other. But don't get me wrong, this is not the star-crossed lovers Romeo and Juliet archetype. If it was, then Rey and Kylo Ren would be written like this. Two lovers forbidden from one another, a war divides the people. I forgot the next couple of lines, but then it goes, secret tunnel, secret tunnel, secret, 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 secret tunnel. The point is, the star-crossed lovers trope focuses on forbidden love between two characters. It doesn't have to be about two lovers divided by warring factions, even if that's how Romeo and Juliet did it most famously. Star-crossed lovers can be about lovers divided by anything, really. From social class, to being from different worlds, to being two different fantasy species that look exactly the same but aren't for some reason. And when they are divided by warring factions, they're often passive participants of the two opposing sides. They were just born there, but they love each other. The focus is on how tragically they're kept apart from each other because of circumstance, which can be great drama, but it's rather boring in my opinion because there's no real character conflict in their love. The characters often just magically love each other. They're passive even in their attraction, which is why this trope is called star-crossed lovers, because it implies cruel fate just wanted to screw with them, or it wanted to heal the tragic circumstances dividing the two different peoples by making two opposing members fall in love and be forced to move mountains to heal the rifts between the populations just so they could be with each other. Or the tragedy of their unrealized love causes a chain reaction that brings the opposing sides together. But that's not what we're talking about here. The Reylo romance is a different type of trope entirely. This is love across the bloody battlelands, bro. Anyway, my point is, these two could have actually been something really cool in Star Wars. A real romance to shake the stars. It was an opportunity for the enemies in love trope to actually be done in an epic franchise for once, instead of in the imagination of teen fangirls that keep drawing Zutara art, though I personally prefer Azul Lang, even though no one else agrees with me. There's a reason why these types of pairings evoke such visceral loyalty from the imagination of overly dramatic adolescents. This is because love across the battle lines trope is a romance with a built-in plot-driving conflict. The romance, when done right, doesn't distract from the main plot like most romances in epic stories. It actually helps drive the plot because the exploration of the romance is crucial to the resolution of the story, instead of being a pointless side character arc nobody wants. Not only that, but it tests the deepest, most intimate aspects of our characters, and to top it all off, this kind of romantic story reveals that love is the solution to war. The enemies in love trope is one where you have two characters with strong active roles in their respective opposing factions. They are literally dedicated to the success of their cause and the destruction of the other side. They have invested everything, faith, blood, sweat, tears, and their very identity into the sport. They are in fact quite similar to each other in many ways, but they have enough essential differences that they chose opposing sides. They're not just citizens born within the borders of conflicting factions. They have been driving the war forward, fighting in it, and even risking themselves to kill the people on the other side. And yet, they fell in love. They fell in love with the enemy. The very people they swore to fight against. The very people they were often all too happy to kill, and often cheered as they successfully wiped away their existence from this universe. And yet, one of those people they fight against suddenly became special. Our tragic lovers want to destroy the other side, except for one person in it. One person who is unlike any other in the world. One person who opens their eyes, and who they love, and for some strange reason loves them back. And yet this person threatens them more than all the other foot soldiers or angry, zealous commanders on the other side, because this person doesn't threaten their lives. This strange and lovely enemy threatens the very reason they are willing to give up their lives for. What is threatened here is the very identity, the very motivation that has been driving our characters up to that point. And to make matters worse, the person that our conflicted lover character loves isn't just a random soldier fighting for the other side. That would be less complicated, less agonizing if that was the case. A simple soldier might be zealous and fierce, but they can't be blamed for all the atrocities the enemy faction inflicted on the side of our conflicted lover. No, our character fell in love with the leader of the enemy faction, if not the leader. Someone who is utterly responsible for a lot of the things that the lover character wants to fight. The one they love is a symbol of everything the enemy represents. Both of these lovers are symbols of what the other hates, and yet they still love each other. But how? Why? How could this romance end? The storytelling possibilities are endless, and it doesn't drive away from the conflict of the plot, because the romance is just one more manifestation of the story's conflict. If Rey had a romance with Finn, or Poe, during the trilogy, which she kinda sorta maybe did, the romance would have been a drag on the story, unless it was incredibly clever and well written, and added to their character arcs, which, let's be honest, that's hard to do. Which is why so many epic stories keep the romance in the background and let it simmer over time, only coming to the fro at the end. And this kind of thing works in the original Star Wars trilogy with Han and Leia because they were fun to watch, and it served a plot purpose by having Han become the reason for the Jabba Palace's arc in The Return of the Jedi. Even so, that romance was secondary or tertiary to everything else in the plot. It was an added spice. It wasn't an essential element of the story. However, Kylo Ren and Rey, in the hands of a master storyteller who gave a crap, could have been a defining romantic story in the popular imagination. How? I'm glad you asked. Now, I'm no master storyteller, but I'm also not a soulless corporation doing everything by committee and who just obeys market trends. So I do have some ideas on how to save the romance between these two, and give Kylo Ren and Rey the epic love story they deserve. It'll come out on my next video, and if you wish to join me on that one, please subscribe. Also, be sure to leave what you think about the Reylo romance down in the comments, and let us know how you would have made it a better story. God willing, I'll see you all in the next video, my friends. Peace.